our economy and the plans of government for the people on Face of Politics, showing every weekdays live on IBZ Orient. Wednesdays 8 p.m. prompt. IBZ Orient. We are politics.
You're welcome to Face of Politics. Dr. Jude, thank you very much for coming. Please sit down. Yes, good evening, and thank you so very much for joining us this evening here on Orient TV on Face of Politics. As usual, my name is Joyce Onebu, and I'm delighted to welcome you to another interesting edition of Face of Politics. Thanks a lot for joining us. Now, as you have seen throughout the social media and on our media outlets, we've been promoting this edition of Face of Politics, and this evening we want to talk about the monetization of politics in Nigeria, implication for our democracy. Yes, a well-known Republican kingmaker, Mark Hanna, of the late 19th century, said, and I quote him, there are two things that are important in politics. The first is money, and I can't remember what the second one is. That's Mark Hanna, the acclaimed Republican kingmaker who made a lot of kings, of course, that's politicians, the big people of the late 19th century. There are two things that are important in politics: money, and he can't remember the other one, which means basically money is the most important thing. Good evening again, Dr. Jude Ohanele. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Yes, my guest this evening is Dr. Jude Ohanele. He's been here before. In fact, he was our very first guest on this show when we began newly. Dr. Jude Ohanele is the program director, Development Dynamics, an NGO which concerns itself with the elimination of hunger and violence through advocacy for good governance. Good governance again. That was the first topic we treated on this program. And he is also a political analyst. You're welcome to the program. Thanks a lot for joining us. Now, let's talk about monetization of politics. Let's begin by explaining money politics. What is money politics?
Well, money politics is essentially a cliche some people came up with to describe the use of money in politics. And it means nothing really, beyond the face value.
Okay.
The idea being that in politics, definitely you have to use money. What is important is what you use the money for. And all over the world, really, there is involvement of money in politics.
Exactly.
You need to be able to deploy resources to be able to pass your message.
Yeah, but in Nigeria, we're talking about monetization of politics in Nigeria.
Yes.
In the Nigerian parlance or a political landscape,
yes,
when somebody talks about money politics, what is the person talking about? Or when the media or journalists talk about money politics, break it down, We want to know what that really means to us Nigerians.
Yeah, essentially when they talk about that, they are talking about the misuse of money in politics.
Okay.
Which is really what we practice here. We do not really deploy resources. Like, for instance, even within the United States political system, they talk about the excessive use of money.
Exactly.
But, because the system is well regulated, it's much more about deploying a lot more resources for media work, for publicity, and for some other things. But in Nigeria, it's a totally different ballgame. The money is actually deployed to subvert the political process.
Exactly.
And that's very important, because you need to place that in context. So it's not really about use of money in politics, but misuse of money in politics. That's what people really connote when they talk about money politics.
Yes. Exactly, in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And it can be really bad, stretching from, the political process is staged. From the registration of voters, you move on to the campaigns, you move up onto the real elections.
Exactly.
And at each of these stages, the politicians have over time devised means of subverting the system by deploying money and misusing money.
Okay.
For instance, at the level of registration before now, when we weren't using the card readers, you will discover that some politicians would actually deploy resources to INEC staff and have them corner some registration material to them, and they'll be able to register and have, including fake registration. So you remember in this country at the time, they found the name of Nelson Mandela on our voter register, and some other funny names from across the world on our voter register.
And names of people who are dead.
Basically, we're all there. So which shows that there was that continuous effort then by some politicians to pad the voter register. And they deploy resources towards this, to do that.
Okay.
And then the same thing is done at the level of the campaign also. Money is moved around, to buy people's conscience as much as they can, especially in a relatively impoverished country like ours, where people are looking for daily bread.
Okay.
So, and then up to the main election and all that. Yeah.
All right. Granted, everywhere in the world, all over the world, money is vitally necessary and important in during campaigns and electioneering, during elections, political processes. But Nigeria is a unique case.
Yes.
Here in Nigeria, the place of money is so prominent, so vital, that if you don't have money, you don't think of contesting in an election or dream of political. Why is that?
Yeah, it's like that because we have developed a very reckless political culture.
Very reckless.
Yes, very reckless indeed. That is based on individual resources. Like someone said, if Barack Obama was a Nigerian, he wouldn't even have attempted running for the president.
Exactly.
But it's on record that he raised so much money as a candidate. So the issue here is the challenge in the Nigerian system is the difficulty in getting the citizens to connect with the electoral process. Because when the citizens are connected like they are in other parts of the world, they donate. So what it means is that if you have clear vision, you have an agenda that can move society from point A to point B effectively, and you share your vision, people can buy in by contributing to your campaign.
Ordinary, common people.
Basically. So that way they all, absolutely. That was what happened in the Obama case. Obama hadn't any money to have matched his contenders during that election.
Okay.
But he was able to raise money from ordinary Americans because he was able to communicate his vision for America and what he wanted to do, and they believed in him, of course, being very intelligent and smart and being very eloquent in his presentation, and people invested in having him help them solve their problem.
Can't we do the same in Nigeria?
Yeah, it's a bit difficult because now, to an extent, we've run this political system that is based on few individuals funding the party. And that's why, unlike in other countries where you go to pay your party dues, find out what you are owing, pay your money and contribute to building the party.
Yes. The
reverse is the case in Nigeria. People attend political meetings, and after the meeting, they sit down waiting for them to share money with which they will go home.
Exactly.
And that kind of political culture cannot bring the kind of good governance we need. That's why we are worried.
Yeah.
But like you said, we can change it. And changing it means mobilizing the entire citizenry.
We are coming to that, way forward later.
Absolutely.
But now I want us to take a trip down memory lane, down history. How did we imbibe this culture of money playing such a prominent role in our political system? Can one say it was it's a culture left to us by our colonial masters, or we created this culture in this country? What has history got anything to do with it? Especially what we inherited from our colonial masters.
Yeah, actually, coincidentally,
how did it come about? Because it's so bad, How did it happen?
Yeah, essentially the colonial relationship we had was with the British people.
Parliamentary.
Who have a parliamentary system of government, but also runs well on ideas.
Exactly.
And all that.
So what happened along
this is our own breed of it. I mean, nobody, we generated it.
Okay.
And part of what, especially from 1998, when we started this transition, that got us to 1999, when we got this new government, and we continued up to date.
You said from 1998?
Yeah, that was when the transition started with Salami Abubakar, that now led to the handover of government to Obasanjo on May 29th, 1999.
Do you think we can unarguably say it's the beginning of money politics? No,
I mean, there was a bit of it, but then it has seized the air. Yeah, basically. And what escalated it also, by my own, observation, was the fact that in 1998, Because of all the drama that Babangida and Abacha played, so many people did not believe that the transition of Abdulsalami would be real.
Okay.
So many real men and women who could help this country didn't believe that the transition will end successfully and somebody will be handed over to. So a lot of people didn't participate in the 1998-1999 politics, which led to the election of General Olusegun Obasanjo then, and then other people.
Yes.
So unfortunately for us, some of the men that came in then came in from the margins of society. These are people that wanted to gamble with the system. And they got in there and they saw that it came to happen, that power was handed over to the civilians. And,
exactly.
And by virtue of being in power, all state resources were now in their control. And unfortunately for us, some of the men that handled the system then weren't the kind of people that would have galvanized a strong democratic movement.
Okay.
So what most of them did was to corner their resources, understanding that with a lot of resources you can manipulate our polity.
Exactly.
And that was when the escalation really started so badly. So now, to the extent that even parties followed, you now hear people talk about 10 million naira for intent form, just to say I intend to run. You know, so those kinds of amounts were being, because the guys that got the system in 1999 were people who believed only in money. There was little idea on the table. People weren't talking about what will make the country move forward. People were talking about how much of the allocations every 30 days gets to them, and they kept hoarding it. So by the 2003 election, they used the money they garnered over those months to mess up the system. So it became clear to some people also, because then INEC was very weak and all that, that with money you can actually buy off the system. And that was really when the consolidation of money politics in Nigerian politics became a big issue.
A big issue.
So it's to that extent.
Now let's talk about our system of government. Do you think the place of money, prominent place of money, has anything to do with the kind or the type of government we are running, democracy for instance? Do you think it would have been less visible money if we had been in a parliamentary system of government? Democracy is expensive.
Yeah, it is. I mean, presidential system.
Exactly.
Like I said, but it's not really, because it's the same human beings that would have run the parliamentary system. So I think it has a lot more to do with a very, very weak value system. And the fact that unfortunately for us, we have very, very few patriots, sincere men and women who believe in the future of this country and who believe that we need to build a system that should live beyond us and after us and grow in ways that can build our economy.
Exactly.
Because without sorting this issue of money in politics, we can't move an inch. Like I said, the campaign finance thing in Nigeria shows you clearly. It's even beyond the issue of money. It's even the lack of capacity within the political parties to even account for the funds of their parties. Like I said at the last time we were here, INEC released the list of parties that have sent in their audited account. And none of the two big parties, both APC and PDP, had submitted their audited account. So the reality is that we are dealing with a political system that has no internal accountability, and as such has no capacity to provide the country accountability. So that's why when you look at the whole system we're on, and that's why somebody can spend as much money in a presidential election being funded by a few individuals, that even in 4, 5 tenures as a president, he or she can never earn a salary. So the whole gamut of the money that is deployed to politics is also the reason why the economy is not moving. Because after the elections, they move on to settling the financial interests that funded their campaigns. And that is why you see a country like Nigeria, with all the resources we are blessed with, salaries of workers are not being paid, pensions are not being paid, and infrastructures are in total decay. It's a big problem.
It's a big problem.
And it all starts from the use of money in politics.
Exactly, money in politics. Now, if you've just joined us, you're watching Face of Politics here on Orient TV, channel 59. Don't forget, you can also access us on Star Times, channel 113. And we've been discussing the monetization of politics in Nigeria. its implication for our democracy. My guest here is Dr. Jude Ohanele. We will be back, and when we return, we talk about the way forward. What can be done? Is all hope lost for this country, for this nation? What can we do to realize democracy as it should be in Nigeria? Join us again, please.
Our government. We keep you updated and in touch with your political leaders to discuss on governance and the economy on Face of Politics. Keep a date with us. Don't miss it. Democracy, it's your right. You have the fundamental right to all dividends of democracy. You also have the right to good governance and freedom to express your mind. Here on Face of Politics, share your views and be part of development and growth of our economy. Meet with your political leaders one-on-one and convey your messages and burden. It is educative.
You're welcome back to Face of Politics. Thank you so much for being there. Now it's time to join us on the telephone conversation. We have barely 10 minutes left. We have to increase the time for this program. I promise you that we'll do that soon enough. Politics is already heating up in this country. Welcome back. Now we have established the fact that money politics, it's not good for our democracy. And for us to move forward in this country, we have to dispense, with this prominent position we have given money in our politics. What's the way forward? What do we do? How about the legislature? Do they have any role to play in this regard? Can they make laws?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us.
Absolutely, of course. Part of the amendment going on is also to reduce the misuse of money in politics. Like there is a part of the ongoing amendment to the Constitution by the National Assembly include regulating the amount of money parties should demand as expression of interest form, for running for offices,
exactly.
And also to further regulate the amount of money any politician or any political party would ever spend in political campaign.
That's good.
So that they don't spend the country into a mess is key. Some level of legislation is important. But most importantly is the need for us to gravitate to issue-based politics.
Issue-based politics. I like that.
Politics.
So what does that mean now?
What issues-based politics means is that every politician and every political party should have an issue they are championing.
Okay.
For instance, if you remove the individuals in APC and remove the individuals in PDP and ask yourself what is the difference between the two parties, as an ordinary citizen, do you see any difference? If you don't see any difference, then that means that there are no issues they are canvassing.
Okay.
Because all over the world, parties canvass issues.
And ideas.
And ideas. And that's why when you go, even those of them in the legislature, there are things they are championing. Like some bills in America are named after some people, some strong legislators who champion those bills. Somebody can be championing agriculture and food production.
Exactly.
So that is what he's running on. And all his activities and actions within the legislature is to make the food production process in the country better by policy. So when you have those kind of issues that are core to the survival of the people, issues of water supply, issues of education,
electrification,
issues of health. Not just mentioning it like they do. Somebody will say he has built like 1 million hospitals and none is functioning and all that, like they do all over the country. Now, drilling down to the real issue, what are the health challenges by data? Who are sick and what are they sick of? So what facilities do we have to deal with those medical challenges they are facing? How far are we dealing with it in percentage? What more can we do? And the people in political contests raise these issues and the citizens follow them. You now discover that people will now be focused on solutions to their problems rather than the way money is presently being destructively being distributed across the political cycle. So it is something we can handle by elevating issue-based politics. To the extent that it's only those who understand the issues who also have the capacity to address the issues that we give political offices to hold in trust for the entire population.
All right.
That is a very strong way we can address this issue of money in politics.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the role of the ordinary man. towards reducing this influence that money has in our politics? Has the ordinary man a role to play in this regard?
Absolutely. An ordinary man, of course, by now we should have had this
votes and buying of people's votes and all of that.
Yeah, basically, because selling of votes is something that is emerging, which is also a sign that INEC is beginning to work better. Because when INEC was, when it was easy to buy INEC, people would just go and buy INEC and they write results, so they don't need to buy votes. So now we are seeing more vote buying. I tell people that is a sign that INEC is improving. People are beginning to understand that the citizens and the voters are the ones that have the power.
The power, yes.
So, but unfortunately, the voters have not also realized how costly their votes are. Like somebody said, if you place yourself on a minimum wage of 18,000 a month for 4 years, which is 48 months, if you multiply it, you have an idea of the minimum amount your vote is worth, essentially.
Exactly, yes.
Which is about 800 and something thousand. So I don't know which politicians can give, any politician that can give you that. And any politician that gives you that is the one that is coming close to buying your vote. So the idea there is that the vote is a very worthy and valuable instrument we have to make society better.
And
the ordinary people need to know that.
Exactly.
And that's why your program is important. As people watch, they understand.
Yeah.
Because I can't understand how I will sell my vote.
because
my vote is so valuable. I mean, I don't care whether the person I voted for won or didn't win.
Exactly.
But I'm always happy to satisfy my conscience that among all the people that came out, this is the man that made the most sense to me, and this is the man I voted for.
Exactly.
Whether he wins or not is a totally different ballgame. So we need to get to a level where our citizens will understand that this 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, like they gave in some places in Anambra during the Anambra election, they gave up to that, cannot solve your problem.
Exactly.
And when they do that, they believe they have settled you. So at that level of the ordinary citizen, that's the one they can take care of. But also at the medium level with the middle class politicians is also the need, because already now, as we are moving towards the 2019 primaries, people are positioning themselves as delegates to their party's convention for the election of their candidates. And they are not doing it for altruistic reasons to go and look at the candidate and evaluate them. People are positioning themselves because during the primaries of the political parties, money is shared. And most times, the vote goes to the politician that shared the most money.
Exactly.
And with those kind of things, we can never get the good governance we are looking for.
Absolutely.
So those people are also involved.
Our time is fast running out. I want you to talk on this. We have to talk about this again. This is a very wide topic. Hunger and money politics. What is the relationship? Hunger. Because, in this country, people always say, well, let me get something to eat, with which me and my children, we eat, as if without that money, they will die. We always blame hunger. Is hunger really the problem here?
Yeah, it's part of it. I work on elimination of hunger.
Exactly.
So I understand this a bit. Yeah.
Yes.
The real thing is that when people are hungry, they don't think very well.
But how did Europe and America do it? Because they had hunger. If you trace their history, how did they do it?
Yeah,
you can be hungry and have dignity and integrity.
Yeah, because they got to the level where they now understood that those peanuts cannot solve the hunger problem. Hunger needs sustainable solutions.
Who understood? The poor people.
The ordinary people.
The ordinary people. Yes. So when are we going to understand that?
We must have to understand it now. The farming season has started. What is going to give you food is actually the amount of seeds you plant now that you harvest to eat and you process and eat, and not the money somebody is going to give you. So rather than wasting your time going to look for people to give you peanuts, and in the middle of the harvest season you are hungry again. When politics is all over, and then the phone numbers they are calling you with now will never go by then. So people need to learn. We have passed through this thing through 3, 4, 5 cycles now. At this 2019 election, I believe our people should understand that this money they are giving doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but do you think people have grasped that? Or is that still hunger in the land? Because you talk about relationship between hunger and money politics.
Yeah, but people have also shown like in 2011, you saw what happened in Imo State. People stood their grounds.
Exactly.
So what it means also is that when it gets to a level, people can stand their ground. But it's important for us to continuously stand our ground as a people to make sure that we vote for people because of what they can do in office, not the money we were given.
Okay. Well, I think we are going to rest it at that. I will invite you again because there's still so much more to talk about, and people didn't even have time to join the conversation. Oh well, we have to go at this juncture because the time is up, and there's another program coming up. We thank you so very much for joining us today again on the Face of Politics, and we've talked about monetization of politics in Nigeria. What is the way forward? How can we stop this? How can we dethrone money from the high pedestal we have placed it in our political life as a nation? That's what we've talked about. We shall find time to discuss this one more time, and Dr. Jude Ohanele will still be our guest then. Thank you immensely for coming, Dr. Jude Ohanele, the Program Director, Development Dynamics, and an NGO responsible of fighting the elimination of hunger and violence through advocacy for good governance. He's been my guest this evening on the program. Thanks a lot for coming. But before he leaves, I'll ask him to sign our register. That's Face of Politics register, so that we will know the God's we show you have featured on this program today. Thank you so much. Well, I thank you again for coming, for joining us today on the program. Don't forget to join us again same time next week, same station at exactly 8 o'clock. Face of Politics will return. Have a good evening. My name is Joyce Unebu. Bye.
It's interactive and intellectually enriching. Know politics and understand our economy and the plans of government for the people on Face of Politics. Showing every weekdays live on IBZ Orient. Wednesdays 8 p.m. prompt. IBZ Orient. We are politics. We are government. We keep you updated and in touch with your political leaders to discuss on governance and the economy on Face of Politics. Keep a date with us. Don't miss it.
A popular saying in Nigeria goes that at the time a cockerel matures, it begins to crow to tell the world the time of day. This makes a crucial premise for all of us who have come of age, the youths, to lend our voices to a nation set to flip a new page, like the chance to vote and be voted for, whether being a youth, a woman, or a person with disability, and to do this in unity. And to anyone who hasn't been confident enough to exercise these rights, I beg, step out of the dark and come into the light. I mean, your participating in the electoral process is significant, a moment to behold, like that cock crowing in the morning to tell about the difference. No sit down, look. Do something that will count today and be in tomorrow's books. The elections are coming. Register for and get your voter's card, your power card. As a citizen, and especially as a young lady or lad, lend your voice. Use your voice. Talk, say, and tell the world the time of day.
Disco music is so